Okay, so we've learned about the oscillator section, and now let's delve into the filter section. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go back and I'm going to just clear the synthesizer, just put everything back to zero. So once you've made a sound with your oscillator, we're going to filter it. Now, a sine wave is actually not so fun to filter because it's such a simple sound. There's not really much to take out of it. Notice if I play a note on the and I try and use a filter on it, take out some of the sound. It doesn't actually, it just kind of strangles the sound a little bit. It does a little bit, but let's go to that sawtooth sound. That's going to be our go-to right now. Kind of buzzy, but watch this. Listen to the sound as I apply the filter. So basically, there are four knobs here, and I think the ones that are most useful will be these top two. So basically, this is what we call a low-pass filter, and it's actually two simultaneous filters, a low-pass filter and another low-pass filter. But when we change the frequency, so the frequency here right now is 15,000 hertz, and it goes all the way down to, I think, 19 or so, 18. So you can decide where to start cutting off. Notice if you go all the way down to the bottom, it's pretty much, the sound is gone. All right. Now, there we go. So if you change this frequency, this is what decides where the low pass filter starts to filter. So if you can imagine, the EQ, like imagine the EQ of it, the low pass filter is going to kind of chop off the high end of the sound, and then it's going to like chop off more and more of the high end of the sound. So you'll kind of hear those high frequencies disappear, and the sound will get more and more mellow, and then finally it'll kind of like disappear into the basement. So if I play a note like middle C, it's going to just disappear, okay, until it's almost all gone. And remember, these certain waves are going to actually be more filterable. Resonance does this cool thing where it kind of accentuates the very end. Like, imagine where the filter starts, right? Where it starts to cut off those frequencies. The resonance will actually accentuate what's right on the edge of it. So it can kind of give it a cool sound. So watch this. If I turn the resonance up and then I do the same thing with that note, watch this. Okay, you can hear that it's accentuating that, that harmonic, that overtone in the sound. Okay, so that resonance is going to give you kind of a little bit of an edge to the sound. Keyboard track actually allows you to have more filter applied to low notes or high notes. So if I put the keyboard track up positive like this a little bit, you can hear a low note. The high notes have a little bit less filter than the low notes. Right? And opposite is true here. See how the filter kind of goes away into the high notes. So keyboard tracking can be cool if you want your high notes to be brighter, or if you want your low notes to be brighter, to have less of that filter cut off. Spacing is going to actually do the most when you have the low pass and the high pass filter, and it's basically going to, when you have a low pass, high pass, and I wouldn't actually suggest starting out with this, it's a little more complicated, but the low pass, high pass is going to actually have two filters, a low pass and a high pass at the same time. So it might cut off the high frequencies and cut out the low frequencies. And the spacing just decides like how far apart those cutoffs are, and it's kind of tricky to make that work well. So that's the filter section, and we'll come back to that in a little bit when we start to modulate the filters with the filter envelopes.